Problem 20 is very similar to problems 17, 18, and 19. They're asking you to use delta H's of formation and the reference table to learn something about the reaction. The one difference is they don't show you what the reaction is, so we've got to figure that out first. It's a combustion reaction of ethylene glycol. So I've written ethylene glycol down, and you'll remember that in a combustion reaction, it always reacts with oxygen, and it makes CO2 and water. They mentioned the CO2 and the water in the problem, but you notice they left out the oxygen, expecting you to know that that was part of combustion. From there, if we're going to use the reference tables, we could figure out the delta H of this reaction if we did the products minus the reactants. So we would take the delta H of formation of CO2, we would add it to the delta H of formation of water, we would subtract that from the delta H of formation of the ethylene glycol, and the delta H of formation of oxygen. So that's what we typically do. Now, here's the part that's different in this problem, is we actually already know the delta H of the reaction. Because this was a combustion reaction, they told us that the heat of combustion for this reaction was negative 1178. We already know that this value is negative 1178.6. So if we already know that, what are they asking us to do? Well, if you look in the reference table, you'll notice that most of these chemicals are in there. Certainly oxygen is in there, water is in there, and CO2 is in there. But ethylene glycol is not. It's not in the table. So that's what they're asking you to find. So you need to put an X there. And that's what you're going to be solving for. Now, the only other things that I could see that might trip you up here are, you'll notice that I did not balance the equation, and you certainly should do so, because you remember you're going to need those balance coefficients when you're plugging in these formations, including right there. If when you balance it, it turns out that the ethylene glycol has a 1 in front of it, well, then it's just going to be X. But if it has a 2 in front of it, it's going to be 2X. So you're going to need to do those balanced equations. The other thing is, be careful about what state symbol to use for CO2. Is it a gas? Is it a liquid? And same goes with water and all the others. Make sure that you read the problem and see if they're talking about a gas or a liquid.